בשם השם נעשה ונצליח, שיעור תורה. We have two parashot this week. I don't know if we have necessarily enough time to cover both of them, but B'ezrat Hashem, we'll try to do as much as possible. Okay, only at the end of this book, only at the end of Vayikra, do we catch up to Israel. Right now they're passing us. But so many different things. This is a very difficult book, Vayikra, which is Leviticus in English. It's a very difficult book because, number one, a lot of intricate details of laws are in this book. And two, a lot of curses are also in this book, meaning the punishments are in this book. And people don't like to hear about the bad stuff. They like the story. They're like, oh, we went to Mitzrayim, we were slaves, but then Hashem saved us, and He split the sea. We went to Mount Sinai, we got the 10 Commandments. You know, the good stuff. That's the fun stuff. But when it comes to the punishments or the promises that if we don't keep the mitzvot, what's going to happen, nobody wants to hear it. And coincidentally, those happen to be the parashot that they combine into two parashot for 1 week. Usually it's one parashah per week. But in this specific book, there's almost every week, it's two parashot per week. So, which puts the rabbis in a very difficult situation because there's not enough time to cover both of them. You read both of them in the Knesset, but to go over them, meaning to teach them to the Keilah on Shabbat, it's impossible because what do you have? An hour with these people to teach them two parashot? You barely have an hour is barely enough to teach the basics of one parashah. So I mean, look at us. We talk for 2 hours, and it's very hard to even cover one parashah. But it's a. I personally, again, this is not anyone, but I just think it's interesting that the difficult parashot that talk about punishment happen to be the ones that we not skip over, but we combine with another parasha per week. This happens to be one of them. So you have Parashat Acharei and Kedoshim. So Acharei, it starts talking about the death of Aaron's two sons, both of his sons, Nadav and Avihu. It gives us some more reasons of why they died, which we already talked about in the previous weeks. As far as how they did the korban, it wasn't the appropriate way. There's a possibility that they drank some liquor beforehand. In essence, it's supposed to teach us different things that we need to know before we go and pray to Hashem. Every time someone does Tfilat Shmoneh Esrei, they have to visualize, I'm praying in front of Hashem. Hashem is right in front of me, He's right next to me, and I have to be prepared for it. So if someone is thinking, listen, I'm going to go to the Knesset, and I'm going to think about my girlfriend, or I'm going to think about my job, or business, or something else, while you're praying, it's obviously, if you're standing in front of Hashem, that's not a very good idea. So it's very important to have your attention focused, especially during Tfilat Shmoneh Esrei, because Tfilat Shmoneh Esrei is unlike Shema Yisrael, which is in essence you're making requests, and it's in essence talking. You're not talking directly to Hashem. With Tfilat Shmoneh Esrei, you're literally talking directly to Hashem. So it's like as if Hashem was right in front of you, and you're talking to Him. So you have to really be focused on it. Now it's very tough to be focused in prayer in our days. So the best suggestion is to look at the words, even if you know the words by heart. To look at the words. If after so many years of being in America, English has become your first language, like it has for me, for example, it's very good to have the translation right under the letters. I've said this in previous weeks. Not the translation on a different page. Most books have Hebrew on one side, English on the left side. No one ever reads both of them. So to have the translation under the words is more effective because you can read it. It's on the same page. You can read it simultaneously. The more you understand what you're doing, the easier it is for you to do it. The more you connect to it. This parasha happens to be one of those parashot that has some things that don't make any sense whatsoever, meaning logical sense. So the first thing they talk about is the death of the two sons. Then they talk about Yom Kippur. Yom Kippur obviously being one of the holiest days of the year. The reason why I say one of the holiest days of the year instead of the holiest days of the year, which is what most people believe it's the holiest days of the year, is that technically it's not. Meaning that if you compare Yom Kippur, which even the people that are secular and far from religion everybody believes it's the number one day of the year. Because everyone, even the people that don't go to the Knesset the whole year, they drive on Shabbat, they eat pig, they do everything.
They show up.
They show up on Yom Kippur. Even at the minimum, they show up to Neilat. Like 2-3 hours before the holiday is over, they show up. They slept all day, but Neilat, they show up. They want to hear the shofar, and they think that all of their sins are forgiven. Now, technically, it's supposed to be a day that, based on most people's understanding, is that it's the holiest day of the year because we get forgiven or not, chas v'chalila, for sins. But in reality, the way we know, according to the Gemara, what is the level of holiness is based on how many people go up to the Torah. When you have the reading, for example, on Mondays and on Mondays and Thursdays, when they take out Sefer Torah, you have 3 people do aliyot. 3 people go up to the Torah and do blessings. Okay. During the holidays, you have 5 people. Then on Rosh Chodesh, you have 4 people. And then on Yom Kippur, you have 6 people. But on Shabbat, you have 7 people. On Shabbat, you have 7 people. So on Shabbat, you have more people than you have on any other days, including Yom Kippur.
Yom Miyuchad.
Right. So Shabbat is the holiest day of the year. Even though it happens every week, it's technically the holiest day of the year. Why? It's a violation of Shabbat is much, much worse than violating Yom Kippur. Much worse, based on punishment. The way we know what's more, what's less, is you look at, number 1, the aliyut. Number 2, also you look at punishment. Someone that violated Yom Kippur is not good. But someone violates Shabbat, it's much, much worse, based on the punishment that we went over a bunch of times.
So
Yom Kippur, it's easy to do tshuva. It's as far as
we gotta do shiur. Shabbat. We learn. It's for the
100%. Yeah, 100%. The key is to understand the significance of Shabbat. Once we know the significance of Shabbat and we keep Shabbat, then it becomes much more interesting to keep start becoming more detailed with Shabbat. It becomes more enjoyable. It's a never-ending process, but it's very, very important to know that all of the things that we do, there is a reason behind them. Even though sometimes we don't understand that reason, there is a reason. So in this particular parasha, it talks about Yom Kippur, and there's different things that we do on Yom Kippur, but in those days there was a few things that we don't do today. For example, they would take 2 goats that looked exactly alike, and one of them would become a sin offering, okay, and they would put it in a korban, they would burn the whole thing, and the other one, they would throw it to Azazel, meaning that they would take they would transfer spiritually all of the sins of all the nation to that goat, take it to the edge of the mountain, and throw it off the mountain. And it would die. Now, when I first read this, it sounds very strange, number 1. 2, very vicious. Throw an animal, poor animal off the cliff. It's not exactly a fun situation. And 3, it makes no sense whatsoever. How is this little animal going to somehow fix my sin? Not me today, but meaning back then. It's hard to understand these things. This stuff becomes a little more, as far as talking about it, it talks more about, has a lot to do with Kabbalah, but to try to make it simple, it's everything that we do in this world, everything that's available in this world has 2 sides. There's good and there's evil, okay? Anytime that someone does something, like for example, if you someone does something good, like for example, someone does a mitzvah, and he sees that there's distractions in the process of doing that mitzvah. They want to come to Shiur Torah, but all of a sudden there is a customer calls them and takes up their time. All of a sudden there is a flat tire, chas v'chalila. All of a sudden there's a problem in the house that he has to go back to fix something. Something happens. That's called the Yetzer Hara. Yetzer Hara is within us. Yetzer Hara does not want us to do anything relating to Torah, because the Gemara says Hashem created the Yetzer Hara and He created a potion to beat him, which is called the Torah. So if we want to do something relating to Torah, the Yetzer Hara is always going to get in the way. Now on the other hand, if we're trying to go and do something bad, like go to the bar, Yetzer Hara is never going to get in the way. Very rarely do you get a flat tire on the way to the bar. He's going to take you with a limo to the bar. or to the movies, or to whatever other places there are, casinos or anything like that. Why? Because that's what you're going to work for him. So anything that we do, we have to realize, take into account the Yetzer Hara has to be involved. Now, the issue behind these two goats is that the Yetzer Hara had a case against Am Yisrael. He had a case against. He's like the prosecutor in a courtroom, and he's going against Am Yisrael. And every year he goes against Am Yisrael to Hashem, and he tells them, "Listen, look at everything that they did. They did da. He goes over all the details. They deserve to be punished and be destroyed." According to what he says, technically he's right. Because we did all of this. He's not making up anything. He's showing everything that we did. So obviously Hashem already made a promise that he's never going to destroy Am Yisrael, because he built the world for Am Yisrael and continues to keep it existing for Am Yisrael. So he has to give him something to get rid of him, meaning to appease him for a while. So this particular goat that's thrown to Azazel is given to him. How do we know specifically also that it's specifically to him? Because the Yetzer Hara is in essence the root of all evil. Meaning that if anyone that's bad that you know, anyone that's evil that you know, they're just a small soldier of Yetzer Hara. They're not Yetzer Hara himself. So everything that he gets has to be in that same way, that same fashion. So when we give him in essence the korban, or the gift that we're giving him just to appease him and get him away from us, to rest his case for another year, we give it to him in the way that he wants it, which is pretty much, in a very vicious, gross way, which is throwing a goat off the mountain. So it's giving him the feeling or the understanding that he's almost part of the Kedusha. He's part of helping us honor Hashem. So he's part of the mitzvah. Which is kind of crazy, because when I first understood this, it was very difficult to really, get around my head around this, because his entire focus, Yetzer Hara's entire focus, is to stop you from doing mitzvot. He doesn't want you to do mitzvot. So why does he want to be part of a mitzvah? Especially a mitzvah that's going to save Am Yisrael for at least another year. Why would he want that? Because what ends up happening is that once someone is completely tameh, once somebody is completely impure, and completely all they do is sins. They look at women, they dress immodestly, they steal, they everything, all the bad things. Yetzer Hara says, okay, he's just another one of my employees. That's it. He's not really interesting. I don't get much out of this guy. He's already there. That's it. He's done. Who does he really want? He wants the big shark. Who's the big shark? He wants the tzaddik. He wants the guy that's doing mitzvot all the time. Why? Because he has a lot more spiritual power that he's going to give the Yetzer Hara. The Yetzer Hara gets his power from the mitzvot that we're doing. Not from the sins already. We're already working for him. But if someone that's doing a lot of mitzvot, when you guys go to shul every day, you pray, you do tefillin, you keep Shabbat, taharat mishpacha, all of these great things that you do, that's what he wants. He's interested in that guy. So, when someone becomes a complete sinner, completely tameh, he's not interested. When someone is, on the other hand, is doing mitzvot, that's what he wants. So, which puts us in a very, very precarious situation. The fact that we're trying to do more mitzvot makes our Yetzer Hara, our personal Yetzer Hara, bigger. And that's why you see sometimes in the Gemara the stories of people that knew huge amount of Torah. Like, for example, there's a person by the name of Menashe. Menashe knew a huge amount of Torah. So much Torah that if you combined all of the people in the world today, they wouldn't know as much Torah as he did. Huge amount of Torah. But he made such huge sins, idol worship, worst things in the world. So you see, how is it possible? This guy knew a huge amount of Torah. I'm telling you stuff enough to bring back the dead. Like that much Torah. Huge amount of Torah. How could somebody like that sin? How could somebody not only sin, idol worship nonetheless? They say the bigger the tzaddik, the bigger the Yetzer Hara. So they have to fight a tougher battle. And that's what we have to understand, is that for us, each time we do a mitzvah, we have to also realize the Yetzer Hara is always going to try to stop it. It's not a sign that we're not supposed to do the mitzvah. It's actually the opposite. The more difficult it is to come to the Shiur Torah, the more important that Shiur Torah is for us. The more difficult it is for us to pray, the more our prayer is needed in Shamayim. How do we know that prayer is even important? Because you just look at our forefathers. You look at Avraham, Yitzhak, and Yaakov. Okay? That's where Am Yisrael came from. All of them married women that couldn't give birth. All of them gave, I mean, it's unbelievable. All of them had women that couldn't give birth. So the Gemara says that the reason why Hashem gave them those women, or put them in that situation, was because He wanted them to pray. Okay, but then we think about Avraham Avinu, what did he do all day? He either was converting people to go back to Hashem, or he was learning Torah, or he was praying because he put together Tfilat Shachrit. The morning prayer, he put it together. So he was already praying. Yitzhak, his son, what was he doing? He was obviously praying what his father was praying, the Shachrit. He put together the Mincha, which is the second prayer of the day, and he was learning Torah the rest of the day. So he was already praying even more. Yaakov, he was doing what his grandfather did, Shachrit. Then Mincha the afternoon, what his father did. And then he put together Arvit, the third prayer. So obviously he was praying and he was learning Torah. All 12 of his sons were tzaddikim. So what do you mean what do you mean Hashem wanted them to pray? They're already praying. How does this make any sense? The Gemara explains that the prayer of someone who has versus someone who doesn't have are two different prayers. Meaning, when everything's okay for you, you're going to have a certain prayer. But when you're in trouble, when chas v'chalila there's a problem, your prayer is much different. Your heart is wide open, the tears come out of the face, and you're all over the place. Why? You open your heart for Shamayim, Hashem, please help me. And that's the prayer that Hashem wants. So when He put the obstacles in their life, and He says it was because He wanted them to pray, it's because He wanted them to open their heart in a full capacity. And that's also part of the reason, a big part of the reason, of why we get difficulties. Why we have a car breakdown, why we lose money, why we have a problem with this one, or a wife, or a friend, or a job, or all of these things, because Hashem wants to hear us pray. If you're one of those people, chas v'chaliyah, it's one of those, okay, I'm finished, that's what I say. What do you mean? It took you 37 seconds. How'd you finish? Rabbi Ovadia Yosef didn't finish in 30 seconds like you. How? Are you smarter than him? You're a secret Gdol Adol? How'd you finish so fast? With Kavanah too? If you're one of those, obviously, this shiur is specifically for you because you need to fix something. You can't finish prayer that quickly. On the other hand, it's very, very difficult to have the same prayer each time. And that's why it requires us to pay attention to it. You have to try harder and harder, and we have to do things to help ourselves. And that's why I say look at the words. When you look at the words, it helps the kavanah. When you understand the words, you definitely have a little more kavanah. And that's the key, to have as much prayer as possible. Now, the Parashot continues with talking about these goats that helps us get rid of these sins. And then we have some of these other korbanot, and also they talk about the incense, the ktoret. We talked about this ktoret once before, which is something very, very interesting. In our tefillah every day, we read it every day, twice a day. It talks about how the ingredients that they have to put in the ktoret, specific amount of ingredients, and you have to be precise, you have to be exactly the same. And the sages say that if someone that makes a mistake, chayav mita. Now when you think about this is a little bit extreme. Okay, listen, I made a mistake. I work at a place, instead of selling it for $10, I sold it for $5. I made a mistake. Or instead of selling it for $10,000, I sold it for $5,000. I made a mistake. Fire me. well, fire me. Chayav mitah is a little extreme. And it's not chayav mitah from the rabbis are saying it. Chayav mitah from Shamayim, he says it. Hashem says it. It's a little extreme here. It's a little tough. Why? And in case you didn't hear it in the last time we covered it, this is very interesting. Very interesting chidush. What is this Ketoret? Ketoret was done on Yom Kippur specifically, but it was also done throughout the entire year. The one on Yom Kippur was done from the Kodesh Kodashim. Right. The one throughout the entire year was outside of the Kodesh Kodashim. But anyway, the Ketoret created this smoke and this smell. The smell is, Rashi explains, it's not that the smell was pleasing to Hashem only, but it was the smoke that was pleasing to Hashem. Why? Because the smoke went up in a straight pillar, and even if there was a strong wind, it wouldn't be able to move it. Nothing would be able to move this smoke. It was like a pillar. Beautiful. Okay. So who would look at this smoke? You could see it from far away. Now we know nowadays, if you see, let's say, a candle like a light, you can see from miles away. Right. Same thing with this smoke. You can see from far away, especially when it goes high in the sky. So who would see this? You have three types of people would see this. First is the people that were around Am Yisrael in the camp. Those people sometimes they have emunah issues. They have a problem. They lost some money. They got into a fight with somebody. The wife is yelling at them. The kids are a problem. Ribono shel olam. They look up. They see the smoke. Ribono shel olam is here. I know he's going to help. They see him. Baruch Hashem. They have a question. They see the smoke. They're talking to Hashem right now. I know Hashem's going to help me. Baruch Hashem. No problem. Second guy is a guy that is really off the derech. He left the camp. He went into the mountains. He's like, forget about these Jewish people. They're driving me crazy. I don't want this anymore. Azov oti. Azov, I can't do it anymore. They're too picky, too this, too that. I can't do it. I got to go to a different community. That guy is on the mountains. He turns around. He sees it. You know what? Maybe Judaism is not about the Jews. Maybe Judaism is about the deal I have with God. Because he says, listen, Jews, sometimes they're good, but sometimes they're not very good representatives of Hashem. Sometimes they do exactly the opposite of what Hashem wants. So it's not a deal between one Jew and another. It's a deal between us and Hashem, a Jew and Hashem. So he remembers that it's not the Jews that are the problem. Himself is the problem because he has to remember that he has to have a deal with Hashem. So when he turns around and he sees the smoke, I remember. I have to go back to Hashem. Okay. Third one is the other nations, not Jewish people. They're looking at us. They see from far away. These Jewish people, Hashem gave them money, He gave them this, He gave them that. Why? Why did He give us? Then they look up, they see the smoke. That's why He gave it to them. Because they do what He wants. We don't do what Hashem wants. These nations, they don't do. So that's why He gives it to them. Okay, so this explains why the Ketoret is very important. Why do we get Chayav Mitah? Why do we get punishment of death penalty for making a mistake in making the Ketoret? Because if someone made the Ketoret with the wrong amount of ingredients, it wouldn't create the smoke. So now instead of having smoke, there's no smoke. So what happens? So the one that's around it, looking up, they have emunah issues, they don't see nothing. So they get worse. The one that left the camp, he turns around, he doesn't see anything. He's like, all he sees is the Jews he had a problem with.
Even worse.
He gets even worse. He's gone. You lost the Jew forever, maybe. And then the enemy nations that are looking around, they're saying, why is Hashem giving it to us? They also see nothing. Like, maybe Hashem made a mistake. Chas v'chalila. Maybe there is no Hashem. So it goes from Kiddush Hashem to Chilul Hashem. And for Chilul Hashem, Chayav Mitah. Chilul Hashem is punishable by death. It's one of the worst sins in the entire Torah. This is very interesting about the Ketoret, of why we read it every day. We don't really pay attention. Chayav Mitah, Chayav Mitah. We read it like it's no big deal. But they talk about it's a big deal. Somebody made a mistake, a little bit of a mistake, that's it. So when you're working, when you're doing the things for Hashem, we have to be very precise. We have to know exactly what we're doing. We have to really, really focus on our tefillah, focus on what we're doing for Him, and really get into it, because what do we have? An hour a day that we spend with Hashem, that we talk to Him? It's not that much time. Less even sometimes, So during that time, you have 24 hours. You spend an hour with Hashem, a half hour with Hashem, whatever you spend with Him. Try to focus on it and not play with the phone or anything else. So it's good to know some of these things. The other thing is that it here in this verse, let's see, 16. Okay, so over here it talks about how this goat is, in essence, helping us atone for our sins. Now it talks about mipish echem lekol chatutam. Okay, so it talks about the different levels of sins that we have. There's rebellious sins, and then there's all the other sins. So it's very important to know that there are technically 3 different types of sins. It's not just one sin. And we read it actually in our tefillah, in our siddur every day, in our tachanun. We read it every day, and we don't realize that in Hebrew, we don't have any 2 words that mean exactly the same. There's always a difference between one word, even though we would think logically that it should mean the same thing. So in tachanun, it says, Chatanu, Avinu, Pashanu. Okay? So it says, Hashem, we're not tzaddikim. Chatanu, Avinu, Pashanu. Now to the traditional person, Chatanu means a sin. Avinu means a sin. Pashanu means a sin. So why are we saying it 3 times? Why don't we just say Chatanu, Chatanu, Chatanu? Or just one time Chatanu? Why Chatanu, Avinu, Pashanu? Chatanu means that we made a sin, but we didn't know it was a sin. Mistake. Shogeg. Avinu means we knew it was a sin, but we did it anyway. It's hard for me, Hashem. I knew that eating McDonald's is not good, but I don't know, I couldn't do it. I had to have that cheeseburger. I had it. Problem. Pashanu is I did it on dafka. I did it on purpose to make Hashem mad. Lo aleinu. There are many people like that in our generation. Actually, this is one of the things that's a prophecy for the end of times. That people specifically going against Hashem. People being mamash, anti-religion. And there's a lot of them today. So Pashanu means...
In Nepal.
In Nepal you have all this earthquake that they just had. I mean, you see that there's all the idol worship places have been destroyed. So yeah, he destroyed it just like what happened in Egypt, actually. In Egypt, same thing. So Pashanu means that we did sins, dafka go against Hashem, to make Him mad. So it's important for us to know that there's 3 levels of sins. Obviously no sin is good, but it's definitely not good to have there's 3 levels. The one that I did dafka against Hashem is obviously the worst one. The one that I did by accident is not the worst one. There's the one in the middle. Our goal is to do nothing, obviously, but to try to be as good as we can. Because Hashem says you have to be kadosh because He's kadosh. You have to be holy because He's holy. He tells us in this parashot to be holy because He's holy. So it's very important for us to try to do that. And the first thing that we learn about how to be holy is by stopping the sins. Meaning, there are some people that focus on doing a lot of mitzvot, which is very good. And there's some people that are trying to focus on stop sinning. Stop sinning is usually more effective because once you stop sinning, you're leaving yourself, number one, the desire to do the mitzvot and the time. If you're spending all of Shabbat on the beach, then obviously there's no time to do mitzvot. So it's important for us to know that there's 3 levels of sins, and every time that we're about to fall for the tricks of the Yetzer Hara, we should remember this: if we know it's a sin, it's much, much worse than if we didn't know. And there's different levels of punishment. And again, it's not good to do anything, but the point is that it's good to know that Hashem is forgiving if we do tshuva. The next thing is talks about the completion of the decrees that he talks about Yom Kippur, and he actually says something very interesting, which is that Yom Kippur is an eternal decree. A lot of people in this age, especially people that are either from different religions or from different sects of Judaism, like Reform or Conservative, that are completely the opposite of Orthodox, like what we're doing. They say that the decrees and the laws of the Torah are no longer valid. According to this is one simple proof. There's a line here, there's multiple times in this parasha, and there's something called an eternal decree. And eternal means forever. So, by saying that something that, if it says here that it's forever, and they're saying that it's not forever, and that means that they don't believe in the same Torah. So, obviously, the people try to make up their own rules because it's not convenient for them to follow it. People don't want to keep Shabbat. People don't want to keep tzniut. They don't want to be modest. People don't want to keep kosher. People don't want to do anything. They want to live like animals. They want to do whatever they want, and they want, they don't want to have a boss. And unfortunately, for them, they're doing the wrong thing because the Torah specifically tells you this. Hashem has certain rules, and you have to follow them. And this particular parasha talks about it several times. This one particular verse here, it says, "V'ayta azot lachem lechukat olam, lechaper al bnei Yisrael mikol chatutam, achat b'shana v'ya'as ka'asher tziva Adonai et Moshe." This shall be to you an eternal decree, to bring atonement upon the children of Israel for all their sins once a year. He's talking about Yom Kippur. And Aaron did as Hashem commanded Moses. So, this is again one of the simple things about Yom Kippur that people like. For example, I know that in the Reform shuls, there's no such thing as fasting. There's no such thing as not touching electricity on Yom Kippur. It's like a regular day. Sometimes I think once somebody also told me that there's music on Yom Kippur and driving. So I don't know what Yom Kippur they're keeping, but according to this, it's not the same Yom Kippur. So, again...
Well, they do that on Shabbat anyway, Reform.
I know.
Music and the synagogue playing.
How they get to be a rabbi?
Well...
That's a different...
It's a different religion. It's not the same religion. It's the same thing, like, for example, in different religions where they say...
Them rabbi?
It's not, nobody specifically, it's, okay, so let's explain it this way. Anyone that wants to call themselves anything today can do so. No one's going to tell them anything different. As a matter of fact, the bigger the lie, the easier it is for people to believe it. So, if somebody from there said that they're the next Mashiach, there's a very big possibility that many people will believe them. Why? Because it's such a big lie that people are scared to ask, what do you mean? What if maybe he's right, maybe he's not? People live in that type of world. They live in a world that's an illusion. And we actually see it in the English, in the Hebrew language about lies and truth. So for example, in the Hebrew language, a lie is made out of is 3 letters. Shin, Kuf, Resh. Each one of the letters has one leg. Okay? And so something that stands on one leg is temporary. It's eventually going to fall.
Unbalanced.
Emet, which is the signature of Hashem, all of them have multiple legs, at least 2 legs. Something that's on 2 legs is firm. It's going to stand forever. So what happens with big lies, if someone wants to be a big liar, they put a little bit of truth on top of the lie. And that's what those sects of Judaism have done, and also the other religions, Christianity, Catholicism, they've all put a little bit of truth in it. What do they put? They said, we use the same Sefer Torah. We don't follow it, but we use the same one. We know Moses. We talk about Moses. Split the sea. We talk about it. They say the same thing. It's just they don't follow it. Yeah. So people that go, they're like, wait a minute, they have a Sefer Torah, they have a Sefer Torah. They have tefillin, they have tefillin. Okay, so their women are wearing tefillin, their women are not wearing tefillin. That's not, okay, upset, but it looks the same. He calls himself Jewish, he calls himself Jewish, he calls himself rabbi, he calls himself rabbi. It looks the same. Somebody that doesn't know wouldn't know to ask those questions. So there's people that grow up in that world not knowing anything different. They think that reform or conservative is normal. Later on, when they grow up in life, if they're interested in religion, they learn that it's fake, it's nonsense, it's against Hashem, it's actually even worse than other religions, and they leave it. Or sometimes they say, listen, I know that the other world is the truth, but it's too much for me, I can't do it, and they stay there.
Well, they come to our synagogue and...
So, the key is that whoever wants the truth, it's right there. It's available. The truth has a cost. There's certain sacrifices. This is one of the Parashot that teaches us that the most important thing about Judaism is that someone has to be able, in order for them to be holy, they have to have restrictions. They have to limit themselves, contain themselves. You can't just live like an animal and do whatever you want. You can't just live like a criminal and take whatever you want. There's certain restrictions, there are certain laws. If you do not want restrictions, there's no possibility for you to be holy. That's as simple as it gets. Now, a lot of these things that are written in this parasha are common sense. Telling you don't steal, don't, things that, sex crimes that they have about incest and things like that. A lot of these things make a lot of common sense. Some of them don't, like for example, we talked about with the goats. But for the most part, a lot of these things make a lot of sense. The problem is that sometimes people don't make their own sense. They use their own logic. And we've talked about this in the past. When people use their own logic to compete with Hashem's logic, it's bound for disaster. So we'll go over some of these things over here that I think is important to know why we have these things. So in this parasha, it talks about these different forbidden relationships. So Hashem says that someone is obviously not allowed to have these incestual relationships, a person with their mother, with their father, with the father's second wife, even though she's not technically his mother, a daughter coming out of this same parent that's got remarried, a granddaughter, a lot of these incestual relationships, an aunt, a sister, or two sisters, while the one of them is still alive. And then there's something very interesting. It says you're not allowed to be with your aunt. With your aunt, you're not allowed to be with your aunt. Okay, your father. Let's say your father's mother, you're not allowed to be with her. This is very interesting. If someone doesn't know the full story, doesn't mean much. Just means, okay, now let's be with your aunt. Big deal. This is actually one of the proofs that the Torah is unlike any other document in the world. It's unlike any other religion in the world. It has to be real. It has to be. Why? Because it's objective. What does it mean? In other religions, for example, in Muslim religion or Christianity, they portray their heroes as perfect. Jesus was great, he did this, he did that, he's made people come back from the dead, he did all these miracles, blah, 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 all that good stuff. Great. Muhammad, despite being illiterate, somehow he inspired people to do some things, and he's in there, every time they mention Muhammad, they say peace be upon him, because he is great. Okay. They don't mention anything bad that they did. It's very, you don't mention anything bad. Any mistakes, nothing. Torah is full of mistakes that the sages and the most important people with creation have made. This is one of the things that's very interesting. Why? It says here, Moshe is telling us this. He's saying that a person is not allowed to marry his aunt. But Moshe Rabbeinu, his mother and his father were his mother was his father's aunt. What does it mean that as soon as Moshe Rabbeinu came down with the Torah, he had to tell his parents, you have to get a divorce? Imagine that. Imagine going to your parents and say, by the way, you're my parents. You gave me everything. You did everything for me, but you have to get a divorce.
This is what Hashem wants.
This is what Hashem wants. You have to get a divorce. So that's the thing. It makes you really think now. If the Torah was a man-made document, if it was just that Moshe wrote it, or somebody else wrote it, why would they make laws that go against themselves? You would say, no, it's okay, you're not allowed to marry your aunt, but there's an exclusion. My parents, they're off limits, they're allowed. You do something else. No. The most difficult thing in the world is happening to his own family. He has to force his parents. Yocheved. She was his aunt. They weren't allowed to be married, so Moshe Rabbeinu has to tell them that after all these years you've been married, over 80-something years they've been married, they have to get divorced. Unbelievable. So this shows that the Torah is objective, meaning that the truth is more important than anything else. And that's the way it's one of the things we have to learn about ourselves and about how to live our own lives. The truth always has to be number one. Doesn't matter if it's convenient or if it's pleasant. The truth always comes first. If you're a man of truth, Hashem will give you special protection and will help you along your way. Even though you'll have some difficulties and most of the people around you are not going to be the same thing as you. Truth is not necessarily the style today. But you'll have special protection from Hashem, and Be'ezrat Hashem, you'll have a path that's going to get you clear to Olam Haba. But someone that's going to play with the system and try to fit in and be like everybody else, Lo Aleinu, the problem with doing something like that is it's it's being popular in this world but unpopular up there. So that's another thing that we learned from this parasha. Next thing is also something interesting. It's also mentions the mixture of wool and linen, shatnez. A lot of people don't know what it is. In suits, there's something called shatnez. They use a wool and linen. You're not allowed to use wool and linen in the same place. So most suits today use it in the collar to make it more stiff. So if you have a suit and you haven't checked it, then you have to go. I'll give you a rabbi's name that's local. So they'll check it for you. It costs maybe $10, $15. Doesn't cost very much. He checks it. If there's shatnez in your suit, then he'll take it out. He'll give you a different piece. You go to the dry cleaner and replace the piece. They fix it for you. If not, then he sews it back up and he gives it back to you, and that's it. Now, what's the big deal? Having shatnez in your suit, pretty much every second that you have that suit on is a sin. So something that can cost you $25, let's say, to fix, it's not worth it to not spend that $25 and get all these sins every minute. So if you don't know if you have shatnez or not, don't wear the suit until you get it checked. Wool and linen. Wool and linen. So it's a lot of suits have it. A lot of suits have it, especially the ones that you buy off the shelf.
On the collar.
I believe it's the. Don't quote me, but I'm pretty sure Hugo Boss is almost 100% of them have it. They all have it. I don't know why it's so popular, but they do.
שעטנז ביחד שמתפשטים ביחד אסור. אז מה, זה כאילו מהישנים היו עושים את זה?
No, it's still done today. There's still suits that do it today, but it's put it this way, if you don't know, get it checked, because taking the risk of making a sin every second you're wearing your suit is crazy. It doesn't make any sense. For example, if I told you, listen, I have this nice cup of water for you. This water, it's amazing water. Don't you look at it? It's a blue cup. The water is beautiful, but there's a 1% chance there's poison in it. 1% chance of poison. Are you going to drink the water? You're not going to drink the water. It's 1% chance you're going to die. What do you mean? You're not going to drink the water. Same thing. Just check it. It's $25. Check it. That's it. Not.
It looks nice.
It does look nice, right? It's nice water. It's 1% chance there's poison in it, though. Still not going to drink it, even though it looks nice. So. That's the point. You fix it, whatever, $10, $50, whatever it is. It's nothing. It's not real. It's not big money. Baruch Hashem, we could all afford it. You go, you check it. The guy can even come to you, and that's it.
So it's on the collar.
Yeah, they checked everything. But the usual place that it has, like for example, a few suits that I checked that actually had it, was in the collar.
Should I give him the whole suit, or
Yeah, you give him the
or
suit.
just the jacket?
No, you give him the suit. You give him the suit and he checks it. So shatnez is important to check. Shatnez is important. You check it. And Be'ezrat Hashem, if we're making sins, this is another way for us to make less sins. Another thing is, again, I know that this is, some of these things, again, are not necessarily the most popular subjects in the world. Baruch Hashem, none of us have this problem, but maybe we know somebody that has this problem. The reason why you know there's people that have this problem is because if it's written to us, that means it exists. Hashem would not write about something that doesn't exist. So it compares two different things that are very disgusting, but are in fashion somehow. Homosexuality is in fashion today. People are very proud to be homosexual. And there's something called bestiality, which is having intimate relations with animals.
That's bad.
Okay? Now, Baruch Hashem, nobody here has this problem. But to you guys, the second one probably sounds worse. Right? Bestiality sounds worse. Because it's so unnatural to you.
They both sound worse.
Right. But, look at this. You tell me what you think of this. This is something, this is it talks about all of these different sex crimes. It says the nakedness of your father, nakedness of your mother, sister, brother, But then at the end it says, you shall not lie with a man as one lies with a woman. It's an abomination. Do not lie with any animal to be contaminated with it. A woman shall not stand before an animal for mating. It's a perversion. So in Hebrew it says, ואת זכר לא תשכב בשכבי אישה תועבה היא, ובכל בהמה לא תיתן שחופתך, לטמאה בה ואישה לא תעמוד לפני בהמה ללבעה תבלית. So, what's the interesting part here, other than the fact that he knows the entire Torah by heart, and we have the privilege of having him come to the shiur, so look at the zechut that we have. So, aside from that, is the fact that after all, the list of all the crimes that it talked about, these two crimes of bestiality and homosexuality are in the same place. Meaning that to God, they're the same thing. They're an abomination. They're the only thing that Hashem specifically talks about in a manner of disgust. The other sins, a man being with his mother or with his sister, or any of these other sins, they're sins. No, don't get me the wrong way. They're sins. But technically, according to what Chazal teaches us here, they're natural acts. It's a man wanting to be with a woman. Yes, it's an unnatural person, not supposed to be with your sister. It's not a good thing. It's a sin. Okay, don't misunderstand me here. But a man wanting to be with a woman is a natural act. So Hashem says it's a sin. The act itself, it's a sin because it's the wrong person. But in regards to homosexuality and bestiality, it's an unnatural act. And therefore, it's disgusting even to the Creator that allowed it. Therefore, that's why the sin is so big. So I know that people have this mentality that this is okay.
Yeah.
Some people are born this way, and all this other good stuff.
The wedding rings.
Listen, if Hashem gave you a problem, that means you could overcome it. Simple as it gets. You cannot be Jewish and gay at the same time. You cannot be holy and have sex with animals at the same time. I'm sorry. There's no exception to the rule. If the other religion want to accept you, God bless them. What do I want to tell you? But when it comes to Hashem, it's not. It just doesn't work.
How about Jewish men turn into women? They do the operation. Is that asur?
Of course asur.
Is that asur?
Of course
Hashem made you this to be a man.
Of course asur. Yeah, of course asur.
But
But again, this is what happens when people make their own rules and they start making their own rules. They're going against the Torah. And this is what I was talking about earlier today. when it comes to the people using their own logic, there's no limits. Once you break one rule, there's no limits to how bad it will be. One example is something that I saw in this past week or two. I've known about this for a long time. I think I've even mentioned it to you guys before, but it's become very, very popular to make bar mitzvahs for dogs. It's called bark mitzvah.
Yeah.
Bark mitzvah, they call it.
That's crazy.
It's a reformed rabbi, woman, called herself a rabbi, which, by the way, it doesn't work. Not that women are less, it's just that rabbis are men. And they give bar mitzvahs to the dogs. So this is completely disrespectful to the religion, to God, to the whole issue itself.
And it's a business.
And it's a big business. It's a multi-million-dollar business. So, again, when people use their own logic, there's no limitation to how foolish we will be. There's no limit to how low we will sink. And unfortunately, that's what happens. And in this particular parasha, it finishes this parasha. We kind of skimmed through it. But it finishes this parasha and it says, "V'titma haaretz ve'efkod." Oh, it says, "Al titam'u b'chol ele, ki b'kol ele nitmeu hagoyim asher ani meshaleach mipnechem. V'titma haaretz ve'efkod avona alea v'takia haaretz et yoshvea." So it says here, do not become contaminated through any of these, meaning all the sins we mentioned. Do not be contaminated. Don't do them. For through all of these, the nations that I expelled before you became contaminated, meaning all the nations that lived in the land of Israel, that I kicked them out of, Hashem kicked them out of the land, the Canaanites, the Amorites, and all of the other nations. There were 7 nations, I believe, that lived in Eretz before us. He kicked them all out. Why? Because they sinned, these specific sins.
Yeah.
So I kicked them out. He says that the land, the land's holy. So he says the land became contaminated, and I recalled its iniquity upon it, and the land disgorged its inhabitants. What's disgorged? Disgorged is vomit. Got rid of them. Another one says, let not the land disgorge you for having contaminated it, as it disgorged the nation that was before you. Velo taki, taki is vomit. Velo taki haaretz etchem, betamachem, ota ka'asher ka'a et agoy asher lifnechem. So there's no mistranslation here. Bottom line is, this is unacceptable. How do we know that the land of Israel is different than any other land? We look at Egypt, for example. The Egyptians made a lot of these sins, but they weren't vomited. They were punished by Hashem, but they weren't. Technically, the Egyptians stayed in Egypt. Hashem doesn't like the crimes that they did, the idol worship and all of this stuff, so he punished them, killed a lot of them. The Egypt that we have today is not the same Egypt that existed 3,000 years ago.
Different.
But it's still called Egypt. Israel is not possible. Israel is a holy land. When we made those sins, we were vomited. We were thrown out of the country. 2,000 years ago when they destroyed Bet Mikdash, we've been in exile for 2,000 years. Yes, we came back to the country about 70 years ago or so. But the key is, it's not the same power that we had back then. And it's not the entire nation. It's not all of us. We don't live in Israel. Many people don't live in Israel. There's more people outside of Israel than in Israel. So, as far as Jewish people. So, the key here is that the land is a different type of land. To live in Israel is a certain privilege, but the people that live in it don't necessarily always take advantage of it. So that's the first part. The next thing it talks about, this actually starts already Parashot Kedoshim. Starts very interesting. Something that we talk about all the time. Something that is ignored, unfortunately, by many all the time. And it's not that I like to focus on it, it's because the Torah focuses on it. And you guys tell me what you're hearing. וידבר אדוני עם משה לאמור, דבר אל כל עדת בני ישראל ואמרת עליהם, קדושים תהיו, כי קדוש אני, אדוני אלוהיכם. It says Hashem spoke to Moses, saying, speak to the entire assembly of the children of Israel, and say to them, you shall be holy, for holy I am, Hashem your God. Okay, so we talked about earlier, we have to be holy. Great, okay. How do we become holy? So Hashem gives us instructions. איש אמו ואביו תיראו, ואת שבתותיי תשמורו, אני אדוני אלוהיכם. So it says, your mother and your father shall you revere, respect your mother and your father. This is the 5th commandment. And my Sabbaths you shall observe. I am Hashem your God. So wait a minute. So he's saying, these are 3 very important mitzvot over here. This is pretty much the first 5 commandments. This verse is the first 5 commandments. I am Hashem your God is the first 3 commandments. Shabbat is the 4th commandment. And revere your father and your mother is the 5th commandment. This is the first 5 commandments. So you have here a huge amount of Torah and mitzvot, but something very interesting. Again, Hashem mentions Shabbat. Again, Hashem talks about that the only way one can be holy is with Shabbat. And he doesn't say, listen, Shabbat, it's a nice day. Shabbat, you should rest. Shabbat, you should eat a lot of chulent. Shabbat, maybe you should go to Beit Knesset with the car. No, he doesn't say any of these things. He says, Ve'et shabbatotai tishmoru. Observe the Shabbat. Observe the Shabbat doesn't mean sleep all day. Observe the Shabbat doesn't mean eat all day. Observe the Shabbat obviously means there's certain rules. There's certain rules in the Shabbat that we have to understand that this is a certain rule. Now, when people translate things differently for their own convenience, there's no limit to where it could be. Rambam wrote a very famous letter talking about this, especially about people that study Torah, but translate things for their own convenience, to meet their own convenience, which technically goes against the Torah. And he calls them Naval Birshut Torah, a degenerate with the permission of the Torah. What does it mean? It means someone that learns some Torah, and he finds a loophole here, and he knows that most of the people around him don't understand anything. So whatever he says, he knows. If he sounds like he knows what he's talking about, they're going to listen. And he makes these different rules based on his unique understanding. There's somebody like this that I saw their video, or at least a few minutes of their video. I couldn't really watch too much of it. This guy talks about how, according to his understanding, Jews are not allowed to eat meat or chicken because we are torturing the animal by doing it. So in essence, what he's saying is that every single Jew, including Moshe Rabbeinu, Rabbi Akiva, Abaye, Rabbi Ovadia Yosef, Rambam, everyone is wrong except him. Everyone, thousands of years, 3,000 years of Jews are wrong until this guy came. And he calls himself a rabbi. So you see, this is nonsense. And that's what we talked about last week. There is no way that we can be right with our logic and the sages of the past be wrong. There's no way. It's impossible. If it's written in the Gemara and it says that this is the halakha, this is the halakha. The more we learn about it, the more we realize that it's effective halakha, it helps us, it's good for us, but it doesn't mean that just because we don't understand, we don't do it. We do it. So sometimes it's very important to be careful of certain people that make it seem like they know what they're doing, and they're telling you that they are religious, but you notice that their way of religion is very different than the way the religion really is supposed to be.
It tells you in the Torah with the shchita how to do.
Exactly.
זה כתוב.
I know.
So אם הוא religious והוא קורא, מה שזה אומר התורה זה מה...
So that's my point. He reads it. Who is he teaching it to? To a bunch of people that don't know anything. He's not teaching it to religious people. He's teaching it to people that know nothing. So you see even like the reviews of the lecture, it says that people are saying, oh, you made me interested in Judaism again. Which means that the person wasn't obviously knew anything about Judaism.
Right.
So the guy can tell him whatever he wants, and they're going to listen because they don't know anything. It's like a baby. Right. You tell the baby, listen, baby, I'm God. The baby's going to believe you, you're God, until the baby grows up one day.
So you just saw a few minutes of that and you shut it off.
I can. I mean, it's
I don't blame you.
But the point I'm trying to make is that unfortunately, there are people like that in the world. Some are independent, like this particular guy. Some are big congregations, like the Reform or the Conservative. Again, it's not necessarily that we want to go to war with other Jews. It's that we cannot pick a person over God. The truth is something we have to stand for. If you want to be a Jew, you have to be a man of truth. And that's it. It says in the Torah, that's it. As simple as it gets. And that's really the key. There's no deals with the Torah. There's no negotiations. This is what it is. This is it. That's it. If you don't want to do it, you don't want to do it. What can I tell you? But at least don't say that it's because you understood it differently. This is what it says. You're not ready to do it. Don't do it. But don't blame the Torah for it. So that's really something that's very, very important.
So, Yaron, there's people from the conversion in Uganda.
There's people from the conversion?
Uganda,
yes.
He sent me. They being converted with the conservative Beddin.
Not accepted in Israel.
And nothing was mentioned about
Orthodox.
Kosher, the food, the Orthodox. What they do? They don't have nothing.
No, the people from Uganda is a amazing story, but it's also unfortunate that the Orthodox communities didn't help them. If the Orthodox rabbis would have gone there instead of the conservative rabbis, then the conversions would have been complete. The problem is that they didn't get a response from the Orthodox. The only people that responded to them were conservative, and they didn't know. The Ugandan people didn't know that, you see the movie, they didn't know difference, conservative, reform. They just, whoever's responding to us, responding to us.
That's it. I'm Jewish.
They just want to be Jewish, and they're ready to do everything.
Yeah.
You see them, their whole life is Judaism. They're willing to walk miles and miles just to go to a mikveh. They're willing to do everything. Their whole life is Judaism. But unfortunately, it's a tikkun.
Kosher food.
Yeah. They want to do everything. They want to do everything.
No, but they don't practice it.
They're practicing everything they know.
Everything
they know. Problem is when you're living in the middle of nowhere with no running water and limit. They didn't even have a Sefer Torah until recently.
So much.
So it's very very difficult to do it. Yeah, there's a movie. There's a documentary about this community of people in Uganda that their leader, a couple hundred years ago, found Judaism. He was actually a priest that built churches, but then after he retired, he found, he started learning more and more, and he started seeing mistakes in the New Testament, and he realized that the only true version of the Bible was the Jewish one. So he decided to convert his entire community of 300 people to Judaism and start practicing Judaism. And they've been practicing as much as they know for a couple of hundred years already, but they wanted to get a formal conversion by official rabbis, and the only response they got was from the conservative rabbis. And they came there, they helped them, and all of that, which is good. It's a good thing that those rabbis did it. Unfortunately, even though those rabbis did a good thing by helping those people, the fact that their movement does so many things that are against the Torah was actually made it worse than it was before, because now it's very difficult for anyone to take them seriously because of it. Either way, I know that when someone wants to be close to Hashem, no power in the world will stop them. So they'll get there, Bezrat Hashem. They're getting a lot of recognition.
Meet the right.
Yeah, they're going to meet the right people. Hashem is going to help them. They're getting a lot more funding now. So I think that they're definitely on the road to be much better than they were before. But it's definitely a difficult journey. It's not easy to all of a sudden become the chosen people. It's a journey, and they're showing a journey. And I think the biggest lesson we should learn from those people is that these people literally have nothing in comparison to the normal lives we have. And all they ever want is just to be Jewish. We have everything. We have water, we have this, we have everything we want. But us, go to Beit Knesset, Shiur Torah, We don't want to. You see the difference here? People have nothing, and all they want is Judaism. We have everything. That's the problem when somebody says, you know what? Once I get rich, I'm going to do tshuva. That's how you show it's nonsense. This is a perfect proof to show it's complete nonsense. Because you see, these people are completely with nothing, and all they want is to be Jewish. That's all they want. That's their dream. The entire community, they're willing to walk miles and miles just to go to a part of a river that they're able to use as a mikveh for conversion. It's an amazing story. You should definitely watch the documentary. I think I texted you guys all this stuff a few days ago. It's really interesting, and it's something that we can learn a lot from those people. Very inspiring. Another thing is this parasha is interesting. We learned this rule about how anyone that's a farmer is not allowed to when they're taking out the fruit and they are supposed to leave parts of it. They're supposed to leave parts of it behind and not pick up the fruits off the floor even. Leave that for the poor people and for the converts to pick up. We learned it from this parasha.
Yeah.
Number one, it teaches us that we need to be extra nice with people that are poor or people that are converting, because obviously it's a very good thing. But the other thing is that we learn what good, the outcome of this particular mitzvah. This is just one verse. Says, you shall not pick the undeveloped twigs of your vineyard, and the fallen fruit of your vineyard you shall not gather. For the poor and the proselyte shall you leave them. I am Hashem your God. Okay. So it says, I am Hashem your God, in a bunch of places. But something that's very, very interesting is that from here, we learn about the story of Ruth the Moabite. That's what Ruth was doing, was one of those people that was picking the fruit. And Boaz saw her, and Boaz said, who is this modest woman? Not who is this beautiful woman. Who's this modest woman? Why? Because she was the only woman that was bent to pick up the fruit.
That's it.
In a certain way that she didn't show her body. She bent both of her legs, whereas everyone else was bent over with their back, which exposed part of their body in a intimate way. So Boaz didn't say, "Oh, who's that beautiful woman?" He said, "Who's the modest woman?" Because that's what people that have a brain, chokhmah, are thinking about. They're not thinking about who's the, they're thinking about somebody that's modest. And from them came David HaMelech, and from David HaMelech will come Mashiach. So from this little verse of Hashem telling us, listen, there's extra, if you could open it, you don't mind, I think he's playing it. From this little mitzvah that Hashem tells us, by the way, those extra fruits, don't pick them up from the floor. We don't always know why we're going to, what benefits are going to come out of this stuff. From this little thing, the connection between the two people that eventually became the Mashiach happened. So sometimes you don't know why you have these mitzvot. It seems like something small. What's the big deal?
Nothing.
You see, something is a big deal. You turn a few more pages, you find out, this is the story of the Mashiach. Something interesting. See, another thing is something that's very important for us to be, as we were talking about before, to be a ish emet, to be a man of truth. You have to be strong in a sense that not only strong in your belief, which requires you to learn as much as you can, because belief is not just in your heart, belief has to do with knowledge. But it also means that you have to be a soldier of Hashem. To be a soldier of Hashem, you have to be able to always protect His name. So there's a very, very famous verse that comes out of this particular parasha. It says, Lo tisna et achicha bilvavecha. Okay, so don't hate your brother in your heart. Meaning you're not allowed to say, hey buddy, how are you? But in your heart, I hate this guy, terrible, worst. Can't do this. That's a sin. Okay? And I'll tell you guys a story about it in a second. But something that's very, very important is that it says, "V'lo tisna et achicha b'levavecha, ocheach tochiach et amitecha, v'lo tisa alav chet." So it says, "You shall reprove your fellow and do not bear a sin because of him." So what it's telling us is that if you want to be a man of truth, when you see your fellow Jew is a mechalel Shabbat, you have to tell him something. When you see your fellow Jew eating McDonald's, you have to tell him something. And I'm not saying you tell him, "Oh, how is it? You like it?" No, not that. Tell him something. Tell him something meaning, "Hey, by the way, you know, in the Torah, I don't think McDonald's was included. Oh, by the way, in Torah, I think they specifically said that violating Shabbat is very, very bad and driving on Shabbat is not so good." When you see a fellow Jew making a big sin, you have to let him know. Why? Because number one, you want to be a man of truth. Man of truth has to protect Hashem's name. Two, maybe he doesn't know. Maybe if he knew, he wouldn't do it. Maybe he doesn't know. We cannot assume that he knows. Why is it that we can't assume that he knows? Why? I actually spoke about this with somebody else the other day. I told him, some people don't know that driving on Shabbat is bad. Because, come on, everybody knows it's bad. I said, there's no way they know. I don't think they know. People violate Shabbat out of only two reasons. This is, again, my belief, but I don't think anyone can prove me wrong. 99.9% of people, not 100%, because the 0.1% is pure evil that are never going to do anything. I'm talking about 99% of people, normal. Either they don't know, or they don't believe. They don't know, some people just don't know that Shabbat is relevant to us today. They just heard Shabbat, maybe if I don't work on Shabbat, it's okay for me to drive. I'm not working, I'm just driving. Maybe if I'm not working on Shabbat, I can still go to the casino. Maybe if I'm not working on Shabbat, because they heard, everybody knows you're not allowed to work on Shabbat. Okay, they heard Shabbat, work,
So we'll
okay,
go to
fine.
the beach.
So I'll go to the beach instead.
And play Marcos.
So they don't know. So some people just don't know. Okay. But then you have people that say, yeah, I know it says in there that you're not allowed to work and do this and do that, but he still does it. He still does it. That person doesn't believe. He doesn't believe the Torah is divine. Because anyone that would believe in what the Torah says, there's no way in the world that they would do it. Because like I told you before, if I told you that this cup has a 1% chance that there's poison in it, and you still drank it, the only way you would drink it is because you don't believe me. You're not going to drink it and say, no, you know what, I'm going to take the chance. Oh, l'chaim. I'm alive. No, you're not going to do it. You're not going to do it. It doesn't make any sense. You're not crazy. Maybe you're going to find occasionally one or two people that are crazy. But we're not talking about those people. I'm talking about normal people. 99% of people. They're not crazy. So it's either they don't know or they don't believe. So with those people, it's our responsibility as people of truth to tell them they're making a mistake. It means that you are supposed to tell them. Now, the second part, it says, "V'lo tisa alav chet," meaning you should not bear a sin because of him. Wait a minute, you just told me, rebuke your fellow, but at the same time it's telling me don't sin. What does that mean? So it's telling us that the way you tell them, you have to make sure that you don't do it in a way that's embarrassing in front of people. You have to say it in a nice way, in a polite way, not in front of a big public. If there's 20 people next to him, hey, Mechalel Shabbat, Rasha, you can't do that. That's not good. You take the guy to the side, tell him, hey, by the way, buddy, how are you? How's everything? How's the wife? How's the kids? Just to let you know, it's not allowed to drive on Shabbat.
But a lot of people that, when I used to drive on Shabbat, I felt guilty a little bit because I would get in the car. But I said, I'm not going to turn the radio on because if I turn the radio on, it'll make me feel like I'm enjoying the ride with the car, with the music.
Mhm.
So I try to keep the radio off and drive, but still, I feel guilty just getting
Did
in the
anybody
car.
ever tell you anything?
No.
If somebody would have told you something, would you have changed?
Maybe, yes.
Maybe. Right? Maybe. That's the point. The key is that we don't know if they're going to listen to us. But at least we have a chance.
But some people know, like,
So-
what you read to them, and
Right.
they still continue.
They still do it. Okay, so that means those people, they don't believe. They know what it says, but they don't believe it. They don't believe it's true.
They do, but they just...
No way.
Don't believe.
There's no way.
So
There's
now,
no way.
if you don't leave,
If I told you all the halachot of Shabbat, and then I told you all the punishments of what happens if you don't follow it, only person
Don't believe.
that will still do it is because they don't believe. Because if I told you okay, here, let's explain it this way. We've talked about this before, but to summarize it in a simple way, if someone decides to be a professional assassin, a murderer, but he keeps Shabbat. He murders 6 days a week, but Shabbat, he goes to the Knesset, he keeps Shabbat, makes some chulent, maybe some gefilte fish, whatever. Maybe he's Ashkenazi, maybe he's from Tripoli, who knows. But he keeps Shabbat, but he's a murderer the rest of the week. His punishment is less than the guy that's going to the Knesset all week, but drives on Shabbat.
See.
Violator of Shabbat. Someone who violates Shabbat is worse than him. Based on Torah, this is not my rule. Hashem didn't ask me about this. This is Torah. I know it doesn't make sense logically. I know it doesn't make sense. But it doesn't matter if it makes sense or not. This is what he wrote. This is what he said. If we understood everything that Hashem said, we would be him.
Duke.
If we were able to know everything he knows and understood all of his own logic, we would be equal to him. Right? So the point here is that a Mechalel Shabbat, if they actually know the severity of their punishment, there's no way in the world that they would still be a Mechalel Shabbat. No way. Impossible. So the only time that someone's still a Mechalel Shabbat is one of those two choices. They don't know or they don't believe.
Don't believe.
If they don't know, then we tell them. Then they can change. Baruch Hashem, like we did, can
Sure.
change. If they don't believe, then we prove it to them that Torah is divine. We show them scientific proof that Torah is real. We show them different things that we've gone over the last 6 months. From what we learned, from different lectures that Rabbi Mizrahi has and other people have. And you prove the Torah is real, all it requires is a little bit of time. A few hours you can prove the Torah is divine, and then you have no excuses. So now, you know it's real, and you know what it says. Then you have to do it. Or, if you don't want to do it, but at least you don't have an excuse. You say, okay, I believe it's real, this is what it says, but I want to be one of those crazy people that doesn't do it. Okay, you're 0.111%. Not many people are going to do that. If you know it's real, you're going to do it. So that's the key. The key is to at least be the people.
Well, unless they'll stop
That-
believing. You know,
And if
little by
they-
little.
Right. So that's the thing. So we have to. If we don't know the information, then we have to get them the information. Either tell them to talk to me, or we bring them one of these discs that we have of Rabbi Mizrahi and his disc that he talks about proofs of the Torah and talks about Shabbat. And the key is to show them that we're not doing it just to pick on them. We're doing it to help them. It's something out of love. It's not something out of hate. You're trying to help the guy because this life is very short. We don't live forever. We don't know when we're all going to die. We don't know how long we're going to be in this world.
Well,
We're here till
Mashiach-
tomorrow.
Mashiach will appear.
So that's the key. So the point is that someone dies Mechalel Shabbat, they have a lot of problems. Mashiach comes, you're still Mechalel Shabbat, you have a lot of problems. There's no way to fix it anymore. You're out of time. So it's very important for us to be vocal
Machia.
and tell Am Yisrael that it's time to change. It's time to really change. An interesting story about the about this was somebody that doesn't really think that hating someone in their heart would be a big deal. They thought, okay, listen, if I was telling somebody, listen, you're a jerk, and cursing him, and torturing him, all that stuff, then I understand, okay, you get punished. But if I just don't like him in my heart, it's not a big deal. It's a true story that happened 10, 15 years ago. That there's these autistic kids, kids that have, a sickness, but there's a way to communicate with them. There's a way to communicate with them through computers. And according to people that know a lot of Torah and in the Torah itself, these people are different levels of souls, and it's pretty much the way you communicate with them, you're communicating directly with the soul, because the person itself is not all there. So they have much more knowledge about Torah and the world of truth than we do. So one time there was a couple that tried having kids for a while. They couldn't have kids. They decided to adopt a kid. And who was easy to adopt? They adopted an autistic kid. So now this, they figured it's a mitzvah to, they were Jewish religious. They figured it was a mitzvah to adopt an autistic kid. Not only a mitzvah to adopt a kid, but even an autistic kid, big mitzvah. After a little while, they saw that it was too difficult raising an autistic child. So they decided they're going to give it back to the place, the adoption center. But before they gave it back, they found that there's a way to communicate with autistic children. And they went to this place that helped them communicate with the kid through a computer. So they went there and they started talking to the kid in a way that they would never able before. And the kid says to them, I know that you're planning on giving me back to the center, but that will be a very big mistake. And they said, okay, why? He said, because in my past life, all three of us lived right next to each other. I was your neighbor, and you two tortured me every day by making a lot of noise and making it very difficult for me to study Torah. So I hated you in my heart. I never said anything to you, but I really hated you people. So when I died, I was a tzaddik, but Hashem told me that I could either go to a certain level of Gan Eden, but I really could go to a different level if I come back in the Gilgul and fix that small sin that I made, which was hating you in my heart. So if you continue raising me, eventually I'll die, but we'll all fix our life, and I get to my higher level, and then you guys also fix in your life. But if you don't, if you get rid of me, then we're all going to have to come back again, and you two will never have kids of your own. They obviously were very surprised, and they ended up keeping the kid, and after a few years he died, and then they actually ended up having a child of their own. Very, strange and amazing things happen with some of the stuff where it's again, when you talk about some of these supernatural things that happen, either the near-death experiences where people die and then they, for 5 minutes or 10 minutes or even a day, and then they come back to life and they tell you the story, or people that, the autistic children that tell you their story. It's a constant thing where it's constantly the same thing. It's not like one guy says, listen, I see this, and another guy says something completely different. They're all saying the same thing. They're all talking about Hashem. They're all talking about Torah. It's amazing. So, and at this point, there are millions and millions of people that have had these experiences. It's not like 10 people. They estimate that there's been over 30 million people in the world today that have had near-death experiences.
Wow.
There's millions of people. It's not like there's like 6 guys in Oklahoma that had it or something. but nobody talks to them. No, it's all over the world, and it's Jewish people, non-Jewish people. So it's very, very interesting to know that this is actually one of the best proofs of the Torah, because if the Torah wasn't real, then one of these people would have a completely different story. Well, hey, by the way, I went there, and no, they didn't say that. They didn't say anything about the Torah. They said that the next world is a bunch of Legos and Jolly Ranchers, and we play video games over there. Somebody would have said something different. There's millions of people. It's not one, two. One guy says something different, the whole story collapses. So it's very interesting. So this is, again, for those people that are having a hard time believing the Torah is divine, this is a very, very simple proof. We have discs in the front. You guys can pick up. It's called Life After Death. There's in Hebrew. There's in English. Put it on a DVD. You can find it on YouTube. Rabbi Mizrahi made lectures. There's ones that Rabbi Zamir Cohen made about similar things. There's plenty of them. There's plenty of them on you could find, and it's this Life After Death that Rabbi Mizrahi made is my personal favorite. But the point I'm trying to tell you is that there's plenty of ways to prove the Torah. If you want me to prove it through verses, we can prove it through verses. If you want to prove it through science, we can prove it through science. If you want to prove it through people experiences, you can prove it through people experiences. The bottom line is, anyone that wants to learn the truth, it's very easy to learn the truth. The only people that don't have the truth is because they don't want it. Simple as it gets. And if you don't want it, then you don't want it. Okay, so it's your problem.
Right.
And, it's just it's unfortunate because somebody wastes their life.
Because it takes away from their things that they like to do.
Exactly.
No, I mean.
So that's the thing. I'll finish it up with this. It's one thing that we learned from this parasha is that it says "B'tzedek tishpot amitecha." So it says that you should give people kaf zchut. Give people, with righteousness, you shall judge your fellow. Meaning, you should always look at your fellow Jew and give them the benefit of the doubt. So, for example, if you see, let's say, a rabbi, Orthodox, someone that's known to be righteous, someone that's known to be a Shomer Shabbat, and you see them driving on Shabbat. You're going to Beit Knesset, but you see them in a car. If they're known to be righteous, not if they're known to be Mechalel Shabbat. If they're known to be Mechalel Shabbat, it's different. If they're known to be righteous, then you have to give them something called kaf zchut, which is benefit of the doubt, that maybe their wife is, they're taking their wife to the hospital or something, chas v'chalila. Which if there's for pikuach nefesh, if someone is in life danger, you're allowed to put Shabbat on hold and help them. So for example, if someone has, chas v'chalila, they have a health problem, they have to go to the hospital, you're allowed to get in the car and drive them to the hospital on Shabbat. Why? Because Shabbat is one of the mitzvot we have to do. But Hashem also told us that we have to live at the first, in order for us to do these mitzvot, we have to be alive. So
For emergency.
it's important for us to help those people. Why? Because if we help them, we violate one Shabbat, but we're going to end up keeping many Shabbats.
Yeah.
Because of it. But if we let them die, then obviously, number one, it's Chilul Hashem, because it makes a bad representation of Hashem. And two, that's Shabbat, and that's it. There's no more Shabbats for them. So, if you see somebody violating the Shabbat, but they're known to be righteous, then you have to give them something called kaf zchut, which is that the benefit of the doubt that, something happened. Or, for example,
You can't assume.
Don't assume, yeah.
911, something
You can't assume that that.
Right, but if you see on the other hand, if you see someone that is known to be wicked, is known to be rasha, and you see them doing a mitzvah, see them doing something good, you're not allowed to give them kaf zchut. Meaning, you can never assume that they're doing something good. Meaning that if, let's say, for example, in Machshimo v'zichot, let's say Hitler comes and he starts giving sandwiches to the kids. You can never say, maybe he did tshuva. No. He's such a rasha, you have to say, he's probably trying to kill those kids, put poison in those sandwiches. Why? Because he's a rasha. So it's very important. Here we learn that you have to judge people according to who they are. It's very important to know, people to know who you are. So if you're a righteous person, people are going to judge you that way. If you're a rasha, people are going to judge you that way. But for us, it's very important to do it and try to see the good in everyone. And find a way to use our creativity to really give them an excuse of why they're doing what they're doing. There was one time a girl, it's a true story, happened maybe 10 years ago, or less actually. She, kosher girl, Jewish, very modest. She's about to fly home. And it's very hard, she's flying internationally. It's very hard to find kosher food at the airport. Not every airport has kosher food. So she went and she bought wafers. Bought some wafers that were kosher wafers. Bufflet. So she goes, she buys the bufflet. She sits down waiting for the airline to call her name. And she sees this guy, religious guy, sit right next to her. It's a little uncomfortable, but whatever, okay, what are you going to do? So she's eating sees the buffalo over here, she takes a buffalo, she eats it, and she sees the guy reach for the buffalo, also eats one. A little naive, it's not, what's going on over here?
He doesn't ask.
She takes one, another one, he takes one. She takes one, he takes one. She's like, what's going on over here? Okay, one, okay, you took, fine, okay, chutzpah, this guy has a lot of nerve. Unbelievable. Then it gets to a point, okay, you know what? They call the plane. She goes into the plane. Says, finally I'm going to get rid of this guy already. And she sits on her seat, and who sits right next to her?
Him.
He sits right next to her. Again, they take off. Well, she reaches for the buffet. She takes one, he takes one. She takes one, he takes one. It's a very, very uncomfortable situation. Eventually it gets to a point where there's only one left. So he takes it, he breaks it in half. He eats half and he leaves her half.
At least it was being nice. Huh?
She is going crazy over here already. She takes the half. She's like, I can't wait for this flight to be over. And eventually the flight's over. She gets out of the plane. She's all frustrated. She's thinking this guy's the worst guy on earth. He's been taking her wafers the whole flight. Chutzpah. He gets off in front of her. She starts grabbing her bags, this, that. She looks through her bags and she opens her bag and she sees, wait a minute, a full pack of wafers.
That was hers.
So the whole time she's
his.
hitting his wafers. He's not eating her wafers.
Wow.
She's eating his wafers. She just didn't realize because they bought the same pack. So the point is that sometimes we think other people are making mistakes. It's really us that are making mistakes.
Don't assume too many
Don't
things.
assume too many things. Always give people the benefit of the doubt. At the same token, if you know that one of your brothers or sisters are making a mistake, maybe they don't know, maybe they don't believe, tell them. Tell them it's our job in this world. We have to tell them. We have to let them know, listen, Habibi, one day you're going to have to go to Shamayim. The boss upstairs is going to tell you, listen, Chalel Shabbat is the worst thing on earth. It's the worst violation in the Torah. You have to keep Shabbat. I know it's hard in the beginning and all of the other excuses that we have. We have to do it. But then he tells you, no, but how am I going to come to the Beit Knesset? I live far away. Don't come. Don't come. Don't come to Beit Knesset. Coming to Beit Knesset on Shabbat is not an obligation. Keeping Shabbat is an obligation.
There's some guys from the shul.
Oh.
They come.
I know.
They come by car.
I know. It's better that they never ever. A lot of shuls, unfortunately, like that.
The whole minyan is.
A lot of shuls are like that, unfortunately. The point I'm trying to make here is that if more people told them that they're making a mistake, then we'll have a better chance of helping them fix that mistake. But as long as no one is telling them that they're making a mistake,
זה
then they
ממשיך.
think that they're okay.
Continue.
They're going to continue doing what they're doing. So if everybody pretends like everything's okay, if everyone pretends that it's no big deal, if everyone pretends like, oh, maybe one day he's
But
going to
it's
fix his
not
way,
okay.
then it's not going to change. So the key is that it's not okay. The key is that it's a problem.
That's it.
And the key is that it's getting worse. So as Shomer Shabbat, we have to tell them. And tell them again, and again, and again, and again.
So
And never ever give up.
You know, dick.
If he's a friend of yours, if you love him, then that's what you'll do. If you don't do it, then that means he's not your friend. Why? Because
The
when
problem is they don't want to hear it. They don't want to hear it. So then you give up.
don't give up.
So it's better they don't come.
It's better than never come to. It's better than never ever come to shul once in their life than violate Shabbat
זה
once.
יותר מצווה, שב בבית ולא תבוא.
Without okay.
Let's say
If someone doesn't go to
you
Beit
live far.
Knesset,
לא
if
בא.
someone go to Beit Knesset their entire life,
אל תלך לבית כנסת. או
there's no
תעבוד
hell for
דירה.
not going for the Beit Knesset.
לא.
It's not, you should go to Beit Knesset, but if you don't go, you don't go. It's no, you're not getting hell for not going to the Beit Knesset.
אבל שבת,
But Shabbat is the worst part of hell. The 7 chambers is the worst one. It's the one you never get out of. Not you, Hashem, but people that violate Shabbat. It's the part of it's the worst punishment in the Torah. There's no other way. There's no nice.
People don't know.
There's no nice way to put it. People don't know. People don't know that it's the worst. It's the worst
Because there's
offense.
a lot of people
He knows
they
everything.
pray, they 3 times, but they try. They put tefillin, they read tehillim.
I know. All of that is a waste.
אז לא, הוא לא יודע, אינוס.
Huh?
אינוס שבת לא דרגל. קורא תהילים, קורא זה, הוא לא
But
יודע.
he say, I don't leave. What do you want me to do? I don't leave.
אל תבוא, שב בבית, עדיף, אתה לא עושה
That means he
עבירה,
doesn't believe. That means he doesn't believe. If someone does tefillin every day,
הוא אינוס, אינוס.
he knows, but he doesn't believe.
זהו. לא, מה שנוח לו. זה נוח לי ככה, זה...
It's not possible for someone to know and believe and still do it. Doesn't make sense. If someone knew that, listen, okay, there are 7 punishments. 1 is getting slapped in the face. 2 is getting punched in the face. 3 is getting beat up by 10 people. 4 is by 1,000 people. 5 is by 1,000,000 people. 6 is, 10 million people. 7 getting burned, beat up, killed over and over and over again forever and ever and ever and ever.
בשביל מה?
It's not comparison to the other ones.
יש בן אדם.
And forever, it never ends. The
חפש
punishment
בית,
for
חפש
Shabbat
בית,
never ends.
הוא רואה איפה
Ever.
יש בית כנסת,
All the other ones end eventually. It's a bad punishment. It sucks to get beat up by 10 people or 1,000
אנשים
people.
הולכים
It's
לבדוק.
terrible.
איפה יש בית כנסת,
The punishment never ends.
אבל אם לא
That's how
יכול,
bad it is. So no one that actually believes that, because that's what it says in the Torah. It's not like I made it up or some rabbi made it up. This is what it says. No one that believes what it says is still going to do it, which means that they either don't believe or they don't know. And that's the key. So our responsibility is to make sure that they at least know. If they're still doing it, that means that they don't believe.
Yeah.
And if they don't believe, you bring them to me, and Bezat Hashem will make them believers. And that's
Yeah.
it. But that's the key. It's important for us to help our brothers and sisters because, listen, we don't have that much time. Mashiach can come any day. Once
Not already.
Mashiach comes,
not already.
there's no more tshuva. There's no more tshuva. There's no more conversion. There's no more nothing. There's no more time.
אין מצוות שם, אז זהו.
Once the Mashiach comes, we're out of time. And that's the key. We have to be able to get as many people as possible to go on Team Hashem, go and start doing what Hashem wants, because it's for their benefit. And I know that people don't want to hear it. Trust me, doing Kiruv is not easy business. I've been doing it for a little while now, not just since I came here, even before I moved to Florida. It's not easy. It's not easy. I mean, to convince some people to come to Shiur every week, it's like pulling hairs out of my head. And people make it seem like it's like almost like they're trying to make it like they're doing me a favor for coming. Like I have nothing to do with my life and I just want to, sit here and talk to people. I can learn Torah and enjoy myself from now until forever. I can talk to the camera. If I want to do a shiur and post it, I don't need people. I can just talk to the camera. But to get people to come to shiur, it's almost like, please, come. Like, why? Because I know that they have Yetzirah. I know that they have people, Yetzirah is fighting not to come. Why? Because if they come, they're going to get stronger. If they get stronger, they're going to keep more mitzvot. If they keep more mitzvot, then the Gan Eden that they're going to get is much bigger. Someone doesn't want to come, they want to do something else, they want to go eat ice cream, they want to go play with kids, they want to do this, they want to do that. Okay, what can I do? There's nothing I can do. So, it's very, very easy to fall for the trap of the Yetzer Hara. But, when you learn Torah a little bit every day, it's very, very easy to not fall for it. That's why I keep telling you guys every week, learn a little Torah every day. Every day, I don't care if it's 5 minutes, or 10 minutes, or 15 minutes, or 5 hours. Learn it. Why? Because that's your medicine for the day. That's going to keep you connected to Hashem. If you're only doing it once a week when you come to the shiur, it's not enough. You know, God bless you guys for coming, and I have the zechut of learning with you, but in reality, 1 day a week is not enough. A little bit of every day. It's like blood pressure medicine. Someone that has blood pressure issues, he's not going to take medicine once a week, they're going to take it every day. Every day. Why? Because they want to stay alive. The Torah is our way to stay alive and stay away from the Yetzer Hara every day. If we don't learn a little bit of Torah, one story from the Torah, one thing from the Torah every day, then it's very easy for us to make sins. You know, so if you don't have something, you don't have a book that you want to read, you don't have any other choice, you call me, I'll give you a story, 5 minutes, and we'll do that way. Whatever you guys, I'll help you in any way I can to get you guys into the rhythm of learning Torah every day, because it's important. Because you have YouTube, you have WhatsApp, you have Facebook, you have everything in the world if you want to learn Torah. But you have no excuses. What's the excuse? Yetzer Hara. Yetzer Hara, so that's the thing. So if it's easy for you on the phone, call me. If you use it in person, tell me, come by, we'll learn for 5 minutes. If it's anything, there's always some types of Torah. But Torah is necessary because that's your potion to beat the Yetzer Hara. That's the way that you're going to stop yourself from making sins and fail. And that's also going to give you the strength to help your friends that are not keeping Shabbat. To help your friends that are not keeping kosher. To help your friends that don't think it's a big deal to eat Subway sandwiches or McDonald's or walk around half naked like a lot of the women in the world walk around. They walk with the tank tops. Listen, I have some people that I know that it's hard. It's hard to tell somebody the truth, but at the same time, it's hard to be with them when you without telling them. So I know what you're dealing with. It's hard to do kiruv. Is very hard. But you have to be a man of truth, because when you tell people the truth and they see that it's because you're following something that's in the Torah, they'll respect you for it. They'll always respect you for it, because again, they know you're not making it up. So that's what Hashem said. If they have a problem, call Hashem. Call Hashem, ask him, listen, Hashem, why did you make this rule? Why did you say that women are not allowed to walk around half naked in the street? Why, Hashem? I want to walk around naked. This Parashot says that all these sex crimes, I want to do all of them. Go complain to Hashem. Don't complain to me. What are you going to tell me for? I didn't write it. I know it's not convenient for us. Everyone wants to walk around and be like they're in Africa. But it's not the world that Hashem put together.
Like Adam and Eve.
Yeah, like Adam and Eve, exactly. So, the key is for us to be people of truth. Ocheach tochiach et amitecha, v'lo tisa alav chet. That's the model that we should always all live by, and that will help us change our homes, change our neighborhood, change our community, and Be'ezrat Hashem, change the world. Be'ezrat Hashem. Thank you guys. Any questions? Anything else? Questions? Be'ezrat Hashem. Thank you guys. Be'ezrat Hashem, we'll have shiur soon.